Hey y'all, today we're making chocolate and strawberry milk powder. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to do is get our strawberries dehydrated. Now, you don't have to dehydrate your own strawberries if you don't want to. You can buy strawberry powder, but I just thought, you know what? I'm going to make my own. So this first little bit, I'm going to show you how I dehydrated my strawberries and turned them into powder. If you're going to buy your own strawberry powder, you can just scooch on down to the next part of the video. But for those of us who are sticking around for the dehydrating part, I got 2 pounds of strawberries from Sam's. Or, get your strawberries from wherever. But I got mine from Sam's. I washed them up real good, and then I'm just going to slice those into thin slices. Now, my poor little silicone mesh liners are stained from blueberries. It's going to be fine. I'm not worried about it. I don't care if they stay blue forever. But I was just letting y'all know, they're not dirty. I promise. They're just blueberry stained. So once you get your strawberries all sliced up, you're going to put them on your dehydrator trays. You don't have to have the mesh liners if you don't want to use them. And then you're going to dehydrate these at 125 degrees Fahrenheit until they're dehydrated. I put mine on late in the evening, like at night, and I let them go all night. So that's what I did with mine. I didn't even have to think about it. And they were fully dehydrated the next day. So a lot of places will tell you, though, that to dehydrate fruit at 135 degrees Fahrenheit. But my best friend Darcy over at the Purposeful Pantry, y'all, I don't know who she is, and she don't know who I am, and but I like to pretend like we're best friends because she has helped me so much with all of this dehydrating stuff I've been doing. But anyway, she said that if you lower the temp just a little bit, it will keep your strawberries from turning brown. So that is what I did. I listened to Darcy, and my strawberries came out beautiful. But 125 degrees Fahrenheit until they are nice and crispy. You want to make sure that, you check them, obviously. If they're still a little bit bendy or kind of soft, they're not done. Let them go a little bit longer, okay? So once I get them off of my dehydrator trays, I put them on a parchment-lined cookie sheet, and that way I can let them cool down completely. See how they just snap? That's the way you want them to be. But you need to let them cool completely before we move to the next step. So I normally would do something like this in my my Ninja blender cup, but it was in the dishwasher. So I got out my little spice grinder. It's like a coffee bean grinder. I've never used it for coffee because y'all know I don't drink coffee anyway. But I do this when I grind up stuff that I dehydrate, and it grinds it to a really fine powder. But now it's not perfect. Nothing ever is, right? So you're going to grind it, and then I still drain it. I don't drain it. What do I do? Y'all, I need a nap. Once I get it powdered, then I put it through a fine mesh strainer, like what you see right there. And then I do that to catch any big pieces, because inevitably, at least at my house, I'm always going to end up with some pieces that don't fully powder. So that's just my journey, my experience. But also, see that little piece right there? But also, strawberries have seeds. And while the grinder does grind the seeds to powder also, you can still sort of see them. I'll show them to you in a second. But anything that doesn't fit through my mesh strainer, I put back in there and grind it again. But you see how you can, almost looks like you can see the seeds, but they're super fine. So you're not even going to know there were seeds in it when you mix this with your milk, when you mix it in your drink. So I'm just going to keep going until I get all of my strawberries ground down, okay? And because I had to do this in so many batches, mine warmed up a little bit from the heat of the blades in the grinder. So that's why you can see little chunks and me kind of scraping it off the sides of my bowl. If it gets kind of chunky like that and you feel like it's not completely dry, then you can put this back in your dehydrator. You need to do some silicone liners that, like fruit leather liners. Y'all have seen me use them before, the green ones. Put it back on those, put it back in your dehydrator and let it go for a couple hours just to make sure it's completely dry. That's what I do anyway, but my dehydrator is okay with that. It doesn't blow powder everywhere. Not all dehydrators are going to be able to do that, but you can also do a second, just kind of drying this out in the oven for a short time. So, but you'll have to look up how to do that, what temperature and stuff. So this is how much powder I got. 2 pounds of strawberries ended up getting me about 3/4 of a cup of strawberry powder. So you need a lot of strawberries to do something like this, okay? So I dumped my strawberry powder into a sifter, and then I'm going to use powdered sugar. Y'all know I make my own powdered sugar also. If y'all haven't seen that video, I'll try to remember to link that for y'all. So 3/4 of a cup of strawberry powder. If you don't dehydrate your strawberries and you buy strawberry powder, just make sure that it's like real strawberries, like it's not anything that's mixed with sugar already. And then I added in a 1/2 cup of powdered sugar and just a pinch of salt, maybe half a teaspoon, something like that. And then I sift it through there just to make sure I don't end up with any big chunks in the powder that I'm going to mix in with my milk, okay? And you can mix this with any kind of milk you drink. If you do almond milk or, we did homemade milks on the channel. We did that in a video. You can mix some of this with that milk and make yourself a strawberry milk out of coconut milk, almond milk. What else did we do? Cashew milk, rice milk. You can flavor up any kind of milk you want to with this. So it's super, super easy. You just mix it all together, whisk it up real good, make sure it's good and combined, and then you're just going to dump that over into a jar. I would say the strawberry powder, because we used fresh strawberries, to be on the safe side, because I keep my stuff way longer than I tell y'all to keep it, but that's just me personally, I would say on the safe side about a year that this will last you on the shelf. I do vacuum seal stuff like this also. I don't always say that in the videos, but I do it a lot, okay? But yeah, I would say that would, it would last that long only because of the fresh strawberries, that we ground down to the powder. So I started obviously to put this in this 16-ounce jar. For some reason, my brain never can figure out how much of something I have. I always end up with way too big of a jar or a jar that's too small. I don't know why I do that, but here we are. So I just went ahead and transferred it to a smaller jar. The jar that I ended up with is an little 8-ounce jar. So, however much you make, put it in whatever size jar you need. But these are super, super easy to make, y'all, and they taste so much better than store-bought. My grandkids love flavored milk, and I really wanted to make this so I could have something a little bit better for them when they come over. So the next one we're doing, obviously, is going to be our chocolate milk powder. So again, I'm using the powdered milk. It just mixes in better. Not powdered milk, powdered sugar. And for this one, I am going to use 1 cup of powdered sugar. I'm making a little bit more of the chocolate because 2 of my grandkids prefer chocolate and 1 likes the strawberry. So I just kind of, adjusted it according to what I need at my house. And if you don't want to do regular powdered sugar, you can use like a swerve powdered sugar or whatever kind of sugar will swap 1-to-1 for regular sugar. Will be fine to use in this. You can, definitely adjust this if you're diabetic or whatever the case is, if you just want less sugar. So I added in, what did I say? A cup of sugar and a 1/2 cup of cocoa powder. And yes, that I used the cheap cocoa powder that probably has 8 billion chemicals in it, but I used what I had. Y'all know, since I've gotten on this journey of trying to make things homemade, I'm trying to get away from a lot of the more high processed things, but I have a lot of them in my house right now, and I'm not going to waste and throw things away. So I'm working through stuff, okay? So don't judge me. Give me a little grace on that. But you can use any kind of cocoa powder that you like. If you like a certain brand or a certain, I don't know, whatever. You just use whatever you like. So then I knew I was going to need a bigger jar for this one, y'all. I did know that. So once you get that all whisked together, I did add a pinch of salt to this also. I don't even remember if that was in the video or not now. Because I was flapping my gums and running my mouth. But you do add a little pinch of sugar to both of these. So anyway, dump that right over into your jar, and then you have, I think this ended up being right under, before I slung it all over the counter, it was a little bit more, but it's right at 2 cups of the chocolate milk powder. Now, we're going to make these, of course. Y'all already know we're going to make them. So I'm just using regular milk for this. Y'all know I don't drink regular milk. I made my son taste test. So anyway, we're going to start out with the chocolate. And again, my blender cup was in the dishwasher. So I am going to use my frother to mix this. If you have a blender cup, I highly recommend blending this in a blender cup, and that way it mixes and you don't end up with clumps of the powder. I saw somewhere that you can take the amount of cocoa powder or the milk powder that you're using, and that was about 1.5 tablespoons of the mix, by the way, to about 8 ounces of milk. But I heard that if you take the amount of the powder that you're going to use and mix it with a tiny bit of hot water, that you can mix it together good and then pour it into your milk like a syrup, and that it will mix in really, really well that way. I haven't tried that. So you will see, like in the pictures and stuff, that it looks like it's a little bit separated. It's not separated, but because I mixed it with a frother, there's a layer of foam on top of each one of the cups. That might have been in my thumbnail, or no, it's in the recipe cards. I don't know where it's at. But if you see the cups of milk and it looks like it's two-toned, that's just because, that's the way I did it. Because I mixed it with a frother, it made foam on top. And then for the strawberry, I added about 1 tablespoon. I started with about 1 tablespoon, but it also needs about 1.5 tablespoons. So depending on your taste, I would say 1 to 2 tablespoons of each one of these for your cup. They are absolutely delicious. In my opinion, it's the perfect amount of sweet for each one of these drinks, but you can absolutely adjust it if you want yours sweeter or you don't want it as sweet. But I hope that y'all give these a try because they are really, really good. All right, that is all I have for y'all today, and I'll catch y'all on the next one. Bye, y'all.